Hyderabad branch
There's some break in the
voice breaking, Yutika. Voice is breaking. Is it breaking for all or only for me?
No, for everyone.
All.
Yeah.
There is
Some disturbance is there.
For everyone, Supriya, it is
Yeah.
everyone. Voice is breaking.
You are audible now. Can I take the opportunity? Yutika?
now it's fine.
Yes.
no, we can't.
Yeah, so I can, shall I, Yutika? I would like to introduce Farida Hussain ji. Can I take over?
Yes, please.
Just want to say that we are very pleased, to tell you that how lucky we are at the Hyderabad branch, which actually, where actually the towering personality of Sarojini Naidu belongs, and we really are find ourselves fortunate. Today's first speaker is Mrs. Farida Hussain, who is our branch president today, the present branch president, I can say, of our Hyderabad branch for the last 12 years. She has worked extensively for around 30 years at the central office also as joint secretary, MIC, in different capacities, and also the vice president. She has involved in another NGO which provides and makes artificial limbs. And now I request Farida ji to say a few words about Sarojini Naidu in connection with our branch.
Thank you, Supriya. It's very kind of you. And Supriya has very politely told me that don't exceed more than 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, Sarojini Naidu's personality is going into anyway, I'll try to tell you that at Hyderabad, we are very proud that she was born here, and her father, Agor Nath Chattopadhyay, he came to Hyderabad and settled down here, and he at the age of 16, I'll just she fell in love with a local person, Govindarajul Naidu. And in those days, intercaste or these marriages were not looked at kindly. So what happened was Mr. Chattopadhyay, that is her father, went to Nizam. He was very close to Nizam, the fifth Nizam, Osman Ali Pasha. And he requested what to do. She is very adamant. Whatever she makes up her mind, she will do it. So they were very much afraid that at 16, falling in love with a elderly person was likable by people. So Nizam gave a scholarship to her, and he sent her abroad to London. And for 3 years, she studied there. That is where she started writing poetry and things. But her house here is very much still there and very well kept also. And she came back, but again she said, no, I am going to marry. If at all I marry only Mr. Naidu. So they had to concede to her, and she got married. She had 4 children, and Padmaja, she became the governor, and through her, actually, I am related to her because my uncle got married to a niece of Padmaja Naidu. So we used to go, children.
Not audible. Farida
She,
ji.
in 17, when there is this Madras presidency, she along with,
Not audible.
no?
No.
It's okay. Please be closer. Please
Can,
be louder.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes?
If you're closer to the system, you're audible.
So I just wanted to say that she was instrumental along with Annie Besant and Margaret Cousins to start this Women's Indian Association at Madras. That is the actual root of AIWC. When in 1917, it was in only in 1927 that actually in Ferguson College, as you all know, AIWC started. But we are very much part of the actual founding of the AIWC at
Yeah, it's speaking again.
Again, it's gone.
as you all know, that she gave importance to education of women and children. So in Hyderabad, we started this visa, that is a Women's Education Society, along with her blessings, and we had um, two sections of Urdu and Telugu medium classes, and she, as you may be knowing, very proficient in Urdu and Persian. He uh, had written a lot of poetry in Urdu also. Was fluent in Persian. So in Hyderabad, his AWC club, the time National Congress President Center in 25 to 26. After that, our branch was started. The first president was Lady Hydri, but it was always with Sarojini Naidu's help, with Duresh Ahwar, who was also one of the patrons of AIWC at Hyderabad. These people together had initiated many programs here, especially for the education of the deprived section, the marginalized section of the society. So Sarojini Naidu, what we call her is our bidda. You know, she was she, and
That's our child.
as a child we
Child.
and born and brought up. She studied in grammar school here, and then she went to this Nizam College was started by her father only, and they're very close to the Nizam family, especially with Duresh Ahwar and Nilufar, and all this together. When first the AIWC meeting was held in Delhi, Nizam had given a train, a full exclusive train for our AIWC members to travel to Delhi. And all these people went to Delhi. They stayed, they had a special platform and they stayed there. They used to go during daytime for attending the AIWC meet and then come back again, and with royal treatment, good food, Hyderabadi biryani and everything. They were able to enjoy their stay in the train and come back to Hyderabad. So this is, in short, our Sarojini Naidu's legacy to us, and we still have her house, the Golden Threshold, and now that is being turned into a library and art center. So we are very proud. 5 minutes I have. She said I have to stick to the limit of 5 minutes. So I think thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and we are uh, very connected to Sarojini Naidu in a very close way, IAWC branch, and now Indira Dhanrajgir is the patron, and Princess Esra is our patron. So we are still carrying on the legacy of Sarojini. Thank you so much.
Okay. Are they?
so interesting. You told us so many good things. I mean, some things we didn't know about her, so close to your branch, and how she, you literally call her your bitta, that is the child, that is so interesting to you identify closely to her. We didn't know. In history, we are taught that she was a political figure. She did this, that, and this is so warm to know that your branch is so closely. And I'm so glad that Hyderabad branch has taken initiative, and along with you and Supriya, and we are going to we have a storehouse of program in front of us. So let's proceed with the next section of the program. We have a very good speaker. Would like to invite the treasurer of your branch, Srimati. Sorry. Introduce our speaker for today, Vijay Kumar Talla. He's a very well-known professor. I would request Geeta ji to introduce him and take the program forward. Thank you, Geeta ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritika ji. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Very well.
Good afternoon.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Good afternoon, dear friends. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Vijay Kumar Tadkamalla. Dr. Vijay Kumar Tadkamalla is a former professor of English and Dean, Faculty of Arts, Usmania University, Hyderabad. His publications include critical studies, English and other international languages, globalization, Australian and Asian perspective, focus India post-colonial narrative of nation, and translation from Telugu, The Liberation of Sita by Volga and Kanya Sulkam on early 20th century classic by Gurujada Venkata Apparao. He is a debate speaker, director of the annual Hyderabad Literary Festival, and one of the founder of editors of News India, the literary e-journal. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Over to Vitika ji.
Ritika? I suggest all the ladies to
Invite Priya.
stop their videos.
Mute.
Yeah, I just wanted
Video
to request all the videos to be stopped. Mrs. Hemalata, Mrs. Bulbul Das, Mrs. Nivedita Sheth, and Mrs. Farida Hussain. That way, we'll have a better bandwidth because WebEx is stumbling a bit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Professor Vijay Kumar, he will be speaking about Sarojini Naidu, the person and the poet. I request you, sir, to kindly begin your speech. Professor Vijay Kumar.
Yeah.
Professor Vijay Kumar is giving talks on Sarojini Naidu, and one of it, I have heard he speaks so well, and we are so, fortunate to have him here today. So thank you, Professor Vijay Kumar, agreeing to come.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and namaskar. I'm particularly happy to be part of this afternoon's webinar, partly because it is All India Women's Conference, but also because, as the President Farida said, this is about Sarojini Naidu, whom we in Hyderabad claim to be, one of our own. And what I'm going to, I've been asked to speak for about 10 minutes. What I'll do is I've actually parts of a much longer talk that I gave last year on 13th February 2020 on the occasion of the 141st birth anniversary of Sarojini Naidu. I was asked to speak at Golden Threshold, and What I'm going to present to you this afternoon is a shorter excerpt from that much long talk. So what I hope to do very quickly is to introduce you to Sarojini Naidu. Of course, everybody knows her as a poet, etc. But I just want to give some indication of the influences on Sarojini Naidu. And then later I will talk about her poetry for a bit. So let me, without wasting any further time, let me start my presentation. Sarojini Chattopadhyay, later known as Sarojini Naidu, was born on 13th February 1879 in Hyderabad into a distinguished family as the eldest of 8 children. Her father, Dr. Aghorenath Chattopadhyay, was educated at Edinburgh and Bonn. And in 1877, he became the first Indian to secure a Doctor of Science degree in chemistry. But in spite of being a brilliant scientist, he was deeply interested in alchemy, and there is at least one eyewitness account of his success. Besides, Aghorenath was also a poet in Urdu and in Bangla, and often held gatherings where he recited his verse. Dr. Chattopadhyay came to Hyderabad at the invitation of Mir Turab Ali Khan, better known as Salar Jung I. Salar Jung met, who was the Prime Minister of Hyderabad between 1853 to 1883, and he met Aghorenath Chattopadhyay in England and invited him to Hyderabad. And when Aghorenath Chattopadhyay accepted his invitation and came to Hyderabad, his decision to move to Hyderabad disappointed many leading chemists of the day in Calcutta, like the Jagdish Chandra Bose and Prafulla Chandra Roy, who expected Aghorenath to distinguish himself as a scientist. But anyway, he moved to Hyderabad and settled down in a house on Nampalli Road, later came to be known as the Golden Threshold. And interestingly, Golden Threshold was described by Sarojini Naidu's younger brother, Harindranath Chattopadhyay, and I quote him. He describes the Golden Threshold in these words. He says, "The Golden Threshold is a cross between a museum and a zoo. A museum crowded with precious things of wisdom and culture, and zoo crowded with a medley of strange types, some even verging on the mystic, for our home was open to all alike." So the Golden Threshold was a kind of an open house for all kinds of people, poets, alchemists, scientists, intellectuals, revolutionaries, and so on and so forth. And that's why Harindranath describes it as a kind of a cross between a museum and a zoo. I will skip a little bit. Dr. Chattopadhyay was appointed as the principal of an English medium school, which later became the Hyderabad College. And when it was merged with the Madarse-e-Alia to form Nizam College in 1887, he was appointed its first principal. So I have more than one connection with Sarojini Naidu because I am a product of Nizam College, and also I'm a product of Golden Threshold, because when we studied MA in University of Hyderabad, the Golden Threshold was the center for arts and social sciences. Of course, later the arts and social sciences also moved to the campus in Gachibowli. But when we studied our MA in English, we studied in Golden Threshold. So in a way, I'm connected to Sarojini Naidu both through Nizam College as well as the Golden Threshold. But Dr. Chattopadhyay became more and more involved with the Indian National Congress, which was established just then around 1885. and particularly he was drawn towards what is known as the radical group within the Congress, the Lal Bal Pal school of thought. And therefore, he came under the radar of the British. And when the collector of Nasik was shot at by a student on 21st December 1909, large-scale arrests and reprisals followed. As arms were discovered as being manufactured in Hyderabad, a number of people were suspected and some were removed from the education department. Dr. Chattopadhyay was one of the people who was affected by this bomb attack in Nasik. And so Dr. Chattopadhyay was retired compulsorily early on a proportionate pension and soon had to leave Hyderabad and settle in Calcutta. So that's how Aghorenath Chattopadhyay's exit from Hyderabad. Now, Sarojini, the reason why I mentioned Aghorenath Chattopadhyay in some detail is that Sarojini was not only his first child, but she was his favorite child. And Sarojini Naidu was very close to her father, but for reasons that were indicated by the President Faridaji, her affair with Govindarajulu Naidu created a kind of a rift between the father and the daughter. As I mentioned, Aghorenath Chattopadhyay was a scientist, but at the same time, he was also very interested in alchemy, which was very unusual for a scientist. Anyway, Sarojini was, as I said, was not only his favorite child, but Aghorenath Chattopadhyay had a very lasting and profound influence on the evolution of Sarojini Naidu. And in Golden Threshold, the book, her first book, she describes her father in these words. And I read this slightly longer passage from the Golden Threshold just to give you an indication, how Sarojini Naidu felt very close to her father. And this is a quote from the Golden Threshold. And this is Sarojini Naidu saying this. My father is a dreamer himself, a great dreamer, a great man whose life has been a magnificent failure. I suppose in the whole of India, there are few men whose learning is greater than his, and I don't think there are many men more beloved. He has a great white beard and the profile of Homer and a laugh that brings the roof down. He has wasted all his money on two great objects, to help others and on alchemy. He holds huge courts every day in his garden of all the learned men and of all religions, rajas and beggars and saints and downright villains, all delightfully mixed up. And all treated as one. And then his alchemy. Oh dear, night and day the experiments are going on, and every man who brings a new prescription is welcome as a brother. But this alchemy, and this is where I would like your attention a little bit, but this alchemy is, only the material counterpart of a poet's craving for beauty. Beauty, the eternal beauty. The makers of gold and the makers of verse, they are twin creators that sway the world's secret desire for mystery. And what in my father is the genius of curiosity. So she identifies herself. She says, if I am a poet, my father is actually a dreamer, and dreamers and alchemists are both similar because both are looking for discovering, the ultimate beauty. So although he was a scientist, because of his dreamy character, Sarojini identified herself with her father. And on the death of her father on 20th January 1915,
You are unmute. You are muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. And on the death of her father on 28 January 1915, a tearful Sarojini paid a poignant and moving homage to him in a sonnet titled In Salutation to My Father's Spirit, in which she described him as, I quote again, splendid dreamer in a dreamless age, whose deep alchemic vision reconciled time's changing message with the undefiled calm wisdom of thy Vedic heritage. So she sees her father as somebody who was trying to synthesize the Vedic wisdom and the modern science. And she finds that as the base, as the foundation for her own poetry later. And a couple of months later, referring to his death, referring to the death of her father, she confesses in a letter, and I quote, "There is no cure for broken hearts in this world. All my youth seems to have left me, and I feel very old." So the death of her father was a major blow on Sarojini Naidu, and she felt that she lost him forever. The two other important people of Sarojini's immediate family, her family before marriage, are the two remarkable brothers, younger brothers of Sarojini, Virendranath Chattopadhyay and then Harindranath Chattopadhyay. I will not go into the details except to say that Virendranath Chattopadhyay spent most of his life in exile, first in England, and then in Germany, then in France, and finally in the USSR, where during Stalin's time, he was accused of being a spy, and he was hanged by Stalin's regime. And Virendranath Chattopadhyay's life is very, very interesting. And he had a kind of a live-in relationship for 8 years with an American writer called Agnes Medley. And so their relationship, and Virendranath was a remarkable man because he was proficient in more than a dozen Indian and European languages. And Virendranath also published, a book called Grammar of Hindustani Language in 1913. So by all accounts, Virendranath was a fascinating character, and he was, just a couple of years younger to Sarojini Naidu. Another brother, Harindranath Chattopadhyay, probably whom we know slightly more, because Harindranath was a playwright, he was a poet, and he was a film actor. And also, for example, he married in 1919 Kamala Devi, who later came to be known as Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, who very interestingly, who was a widow when Harindranath married her. She was a widow, and later Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay became well known as an advocate of traditional Indian crafts. Of course, they separated, and again, something very interesting. Kamala Devi was the one who sought divorce. In those days, for a woman to seek divorce was something very, very unusual. Just one more line about Harindranath. Harindranath, of course, composed the well-known, the very popular song "Rail Gadi," which he himself composed and sang on All India Radio, and of course, which later was rendered memorable by Ashok Kumar in the film Ashirwad, 1968. So besides many songs, etc., Harindranath also wrote 5 plays, and he also published an autobiography. So the reason why I mention Gauranath Chattopadhyay, Virendranath, and Harindranath is to show that Sarojini grew up in a highly creative family, whether it was her father or whether it was her brothers, an extremely gifted people, and Sarojini was born and surrounded by these very, very creative people. Now, very quickly, I'll say a few things about Sarojini. Of course, everybody knows her as Bharat Kokila. Bharat Kokila was a kind of a title that she was given by Mahatma Gandhi and the Nightingale of India, and she was also known as Bulbul-e-Hind. And she was considered by some people as the greatest Indian poet of her times, whereas some others, like Khushwant Singh, for example, dismissed her as a second-rate rhymer who indulged in what Urdu poets describe as tukbazi rhyme. This was Khushwant Singh's dismissal of Sarojini Naidu's talent. The truth, of course, as always, lies somewhere in between. She was not such a bad poet, but certainly not the best of her generation. So the truth actually is somewhere between these two extreme views about her poetic talent. She herself wrote, she was very realistic about her own ability. And she wrote, I quote, "I'm not a poet really. I have the vision and the desire, but not the voice. If I could write just one poem full of beauty and the spirit of greatness, I should be exultantly silent forever. But I sing just as birds do, and my songs as ephemeral." So this is exactly what Sarojini Naidu thought of herself. She said that I write because it comes naturally to me, but she never considered herself as a serious poet. This is the exact quality which was found later by the English poet Edmund Gosse. Edmund Gosse, found that what Sarojini lacked was an individual voice. And I will not go into further, except Sarojini Naidu, initially I wanted to call the title of my talk as the providential poet. Sarojini was actually a kind of an accidental poet. She never trained herself to become a poet. In fact, she herself describes how she became a poet, and this is what she says. "I don't think I had any special hankering to write poetry as a little child, though I was of a very fanciful and dreamy nature." Remember, she admires her father's dreamy quality, and she says that I was of a very dreamy nature. "One day, when I was 11, I was sighing over a sum in algebra. It wouldn't come. But instead, a whole poem came to me suddenly." So she was actually, at the age of 11, she was trying to solve an algebra problem, which she could not. But instead of the solution to the problem, she says, all of a sudden, a poem came to her. And I wrote it down. And from that day, my poetic career began. At 13, I wrote a long poem, 1,300 lines in 6 days. At 13, I wrote a drama of 2,000 lines. And then she says she wrote a novel, she wrote a, etc., etc. Now, this 1,300 line poem, which Farida ji mentioned, the 1,300 lines poem was titled Meher Munir. Meher Munir, and the subtitle was A Poem in 3 Cantos by a Brahmin Girl. This is the full title of that poem, Meher Munir. This was in 1893, and somehow this poem reached the Nizam, who was so charmed that he made a typically princely gesture. In 1895, His Exalted Highness endowed her with a scholarship granting her passage to England for £300 a year. This scholarship came in handy for her parents to try and terminate her teenage love affair with Dr. Govindarajulu Naidu, who was 10 years her senior and a widower. So at the age of 16, much against her will, Sarojini was sent away by her parents to Britain, and she remained there for the next 3 years. And in England, she came under the influence of two poets, Edmund Gosse and Arthur Symonds, who actually shaped Sarojini as a poet. And when Sarojini showed some of her poems to Edmund Gosse, and this is what he said. He said that her poetry totally without individuality. He said that her poetry lacked individuality, and her poetry was Western in feeling and imagery, and founded on reminiscences of Tennyson and Shelley. So he found Sarojini Naidu's poetry very imitative, because her favorite poet was P.B. Shelley, and she wrote almost as a kind of a copying the romantic poetry style of the romantic poets. So it was Edmund Gosse who then advised her to restructure herself as, I quote, a genuine Indian poet of the Deccan, not a clever machine-made imitator of the English classics. And he advised her to reveal to the West the heart of India and the mysterious intimations that stirred the soul of the East. And Sarojini accepted Gosse's advice with apparent docility and rapid appreciation of his genius. And the result was that between 1905 and 1917, three volumes of her poetry were published by Heinemann London. So in a way, the evolution of Sarojini as a poet is much to the credit of Edmund Gosse and Arthur Symonds also. And I will just end by saying that apart from being a wonderful poet, Sarojini had other talents. She was a great mimic. She used to do mimicry, and she had a ready wit. Once during the Constituent Assembly meeting, when Chairman Dr. Sachidananda Sinha invited her to speak, he invited her with these lines, and he said, "I shall now request Bulbul-e-Hind, the Nightingale of India, to address the House." And she took the mic and quickly replied to him, and she said, "Bulbul ko gul mubarak, gul ko chaman mubarak, rangeen tabiyaton ko range sukhan mubarak." Nightingale is happy with the flower is happy to be in the garden. People with colorful personalities are happy with poetry. And remember, this was a very on-the-spot, a response to the way in which she was invited. And Nayanthara Sehgal, who is the niece of Jawaharlal Nehru, remembered that whenever Sarojini visited their house, the whole house was full of fun and festivity. And it was Nayanthara Sehgal who actually told me that Sarojini Naidu was a gifted mimic with stories to tell about people she had met on her travels, and who were as unlike a dhoti-clad traveler met on a train to movie idol John Barrymore. And she had a way of accompanying her anecdotes with gestures that had us in fits of laughter. So Sarojini Naidu was an extremely fun-loving person, and wherever she went, she brought light, and she also brought cheerfulness. And remember, she was, the only one who had the guts and the closeness to Mahatma Gandhi to call him Mickey Mouse. And what I propose to say is that because I think Sarojini knew that she disappointed her father very much, because in a letter to Edmund Gosse, she says, I quote, "Yes, I have hurt my father, my very idol, far, far too deeply to be forgiven. she says that she had hurt her father, and as I interpret it, in Edmund Goss and in Mahatma Gandhi, she saw a kind of a father substitutes, because she felt that she disappointed her father in real life. She accepted Edmund Goss as her literary father and Gandhi as her political father. So in a way, both Edmund Goss in her poetry and Mahatma Gandhi in her political life were actually a kind of a father substitutes for Sarojini Naidu. And so I'll just mention that she wrote a beautiful poem on Gandhi after Gandhi died. It was dedicated to Gandhi, and this was a poem called The Lotus, in which she describes her attachment to Gandhi. Another poem that I would mention, which shows her awareness about the world affairs, was a poem called The Gift of India. The Gift of India is one of the very few poems which are written about the sufferings of the Indian soldiers in the First World War. And because, she says the Indian soldiers were fighting a war which is not their war. They are fighting somebody else's war. They're all, and that's why she says, she ends that poem by saying, she's telling the English people that whenever you remember your martyrs, please remember the Indian soldiers also. So that's one of the very few poems that are written about the First World War. So Sarojini was, as I said, was very much at home in Hyderabad, but at the same time she was also at home at the national level. But at the same time she was also at home in the entire world. So she was both a local as well as a national as well as an international. So this is what I wanted to say about Sarojini Naidu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Vijay Kumar. It was such an interesting lecture, and I'm sure everyone, was spellbound listening to you. And you have so nicely knit together the political, the creative aspect, all the influences, history and literature in one person, and the family that she belonged to, that I'm sure we are enriched today by so many degrees. I'm sure our audience has a lot to say. Maybe we can have some time to discuss this, Sheila ji, because I'm sure we don't want to leave Professor Vijay Kumar just like that. We have questions. So anyone who would like to comment on this or ask something? I have one curiosity. Since I teach history, is it true? About 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had some of our papers were found in an Anaj Mandi, like all stuffed in a very old almirah and, all dusty and all. So what that neglect of her possessions or, maybe her writings, is that true?
Well, I think that's the characteristic feature of us Indians, isn't it? I mean, we have very little respect for history. We have very little respect for our heritage. We have very little respect for our legacy. So yes, I'm not surprised at all, because there used to be very close to Golden Threshold. There used to be another small house which had all the library of Sarojini and her father, their personal library. I really don't know what happened to that library, where all those books have disappeared. It's very difficult now to. I mean, the Golden Threshold recently has started an attempt to collect, gather information about her and keep it at one place. But unfortunately, as soon as that initiative started, the pandemic broke out, and I'm sure that something will be done. But as of today, I'm not at all surprised that papers. But I think and this is nothing very unexpected about just Sarojini Naidu.
Yeah, true.
So much of our precious material. That's why, as somebody said, if somebody wants to wants to research on India, the best place to research on India is the India House Library in the British Library in London.
True.
Right. So the best way to study India is in either Bonn or in London, not in India.
That's rather sad. Yeah, true. Very well said. We need to have more sense of history, or rather inculcate a sense of history and preserve things.
Yes.
I can see Professor Zafar here. Sir, would you like to say something on this? And maybe further.
Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Yes. I just want to understand one thing.
Yeah.
First of all, it was a very nice, very structured article, and I learned so many things. And I just got an idea. I just have to do understand the connection of this family with Urdu language and literature. At the same time, sir, I just want to understand why the name of Mahre Munir is used for the poem. Mahre Munir. It's a character in Urdu literature, in Urdu poetry. What is the connection between Mahre Munir and the poem? Yes, please.
Yeah. About her connection with Urdu, actually, as I said, she perhaps inherited it from her father. Because in Hyderabad, if you are living in Hyderabad during that period, it is not a surprise that one becomes proficient in Urdu, because Urdu was not just the state language, but it was also the language of education. So I'm sure grammar school in which she studied obviously was the entire education was through Urdu medium, right?
No, but what is the connection between Mahre Munir for the poem?
Yeah, I think I mean it's with great difficulty. Actually, I managed to find the full title of that poem, but what I understand is that it's a kind of an imaginary retelling of the Mahre Munir character. She's retelling the story in this long poem.
Can you recite that couplet Bulbul ko Gul Mubarak?
Okay. This was in the Constituent Assembly when the Constitution was being discussed.
Yes.
She was called to speak, and she responded by saying, "Bulbul ko Gul Mubarak, Gul ko Chaman Mubarak.
Yes.
Rangin tabiyaton ko range sukhan Mubarak."
बहुत खूबसूरत.
And this was just on the spot, spontaneous.
ये कहाँ हुआ था ये?
Yeah, Constituent Assembly when the Constitution was being discussed.
Yeah.
In the Constituent Assembly.
Thank you, Vijay Kumar ji.
Thank you, Vijay Kumar ji. I wanted to point out to you that Yutika, the moderator today, is the professor of history. All these things.
Yeah, I just learned.
Thank you, Supriya. Actually, sir, I think it's very good to know that AIWC, and thanks to our president, Sheila ji, I wish she opens her video and speaks. She has taken a lot of initiative to find out, about our past presidents. And as a result, we are in the process of writing new things about presidents. We just knew them as our presidents, maybe like about Sarojini Naidu, we knew something or the other. But the way now things are coming up, as you said, we need to inculcate the sense of history, at least, start. And AIWC has done this wonderfully under the leadership of Sheila ji. Sheila ji, I would like to ask you to, say something on this. What inspires you to do history? Yeah.
See, I always used to say that AIWC has got a wonderful legacy. All our previous presidents, they have worked so well and they had a vision. It was the efforts put in by our past presidents. And that's why I felt all our members, now during this COVID time, we are not going out of our houses and do our regular activities, which AIWC was doing for the society. The members were doing for the society all over the country through our 500 branches and a lakh of membership.
I think there's a problem with the video. Yeah. So, sir.
Can I come in 1 minute?
Yeah, sure, Chandraprabhaji. Please say what you want.
Professor Vijay Kumar, you are simply brilliant, because it is normally the rule that when people are no more, all the speakers come out and praise everything about them. You are so candid in the assessment of Sarojini Naidu's poetry, and the way you put it, it was simply wonderful, because it was not timeless. Her poems are not timeless. They don't transcend the time and the places and all that. They are dated, but very few people have the courage to say it. Like, she was a brilliant orator. She was a brilliant political, writer, letter writer. But her poetry is mainly about Hyderabad, bazaar,
Organization.
and things like that. Thank you very much. Could we have your article, please?
So if you can share with us, that will be good.
We will be
recorded, so we can provide it to you. Chandraprabhaji, it's been recorded.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can I just respond in 1 minute to
Yes,
Chandraprabhaji's? Please don't get me wrong. I am not overly critical of her poetic ability, except to say that we have to read her poetry in the context. She was certainly one of the early poets, but she was certainly not, probably the most brilliant poet of her times. There was Toru Dutt, there were other poets, but she played an important role in and in particularly in one kind of poetry, the sing-song kind of poetry that she wrote. The bangle sellers of Hyderabad, or the bazaars of Hyderabad. So there is a kind of a sing-song quality, the palanquin bearers, etc. Her songs are very easy to, tune to music. So some of her poetry is that, but some of her poems, like for example, as I said, The Gift of India is a very, very rare poem, because not many Indians actually have written anything about the First World War. And, she is one of the very few who has actually written about the trauma of the First World War.
Yes, certainly, sir. I think we proceed. Farida ji, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Vijay Kumar, is it true that Bangle Sellers was written while she was inspired by the Lad Bazaar area?
Absolutely. There are clear references to Lad Bazaar, and the shiny stone bangles that are sold there. She is definitely rooted in the culture of Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening, clarifications and things. On the side, I would like to inform you all that we have a small library and a small archives in the AIWC, and we have conserved and preserved some of our old records. But surprisingly, when someone asked, Teen Murthy asked us, do you have, since she's our 4th president, and do you have her letters or some manuscripts? We were very confident, yes. But when we looked into it, we realized we didn't have anything, just one annual report. That was so sad. And so, as you said, we need to conserve and preserve and propagate these sources. And, as we got so many things in Hyderabad in our home, we need to share that with us, and maybe AIWC can, further do something in that regard, and maybe we can have some project with you all in future, since you are a specialist.
Yutika, we have some books of Makarand Pranjpe.
Yes.
Sarojini Naidu.
Yes, Makarand has written a good book on Sarojini.
Very
And then
Yes.
also Sachidananda Mohanty has written
Yes.
a book on,
that we will get. But
yeah.
Makarand we
Ah.
have.
Yeah, Makarand.
Yeah, Makarand,
Came
we
and
have.
lectured also. Sir
Maybe-
Makarand came twice to our office.
Correct.
And he lectured on Sarojini Naidu.
Yeah.
Now,
But
may I
maybe,
say something?
if I can suggest, AAWCA should, make a golden threshold as their, as at least a venue for one of their, national meets. That would be, and of
That's
course,
lovely.
now that golden threshold is now open to, and they're trying to make it into a cultural hub. Maybe they will also be happy about that.
Yeah,
That's-
Professor Vijay Kumar, we have been thinking about these things. Of course, our
Yes.
national events are closer to 300 women. We won't be able to host them there. But our branch events we can hold there.
Yes, certainly,
We have
certainly.
spoken to Professor Vinod Paurala.
Yeah.
And
I just want to tell Professor that our building in Delhi is named after Sarojini Naidu.
Hmm.
It is Sarojini House.
House.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sarojini House.
And every year we celebrate her birthday. Every year.
every
Since
year.
time immemorial.
May I say something, please?
Who's there?
Yes,
Who's-
yes,
Manju-
Manjula,
Manjula ji,
From-
briefly, and we would like to finish this session, so please be brief.
one point.
Yes.
In my information, Maher Munir is a play written in Persian language, actually. It is written in Persian language and it's a play, it's not a poem. And another thing I want to say, in our time, in Bethune College, Calcutta, under the principal, Mrinalini Emerson was the principal at that time. She made us play Sarojini Naidu's poem, one of the poems, in Bethune College.
Thank you, Manjula ji. That was such a good.
Thank you for having me.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, Mathili, I can't see you. Are you there, Mathili?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please, briefly. Yeah, maybe in a minute. Mathili.
Okay. Thanks so much to the learned speakers for brilliantly bringing out the personality of Sarojini ji. May I ask Professor Vijay Kumar, how come she stopped writing poetry very early, say in her 30s? What was the reason? Has somebody done research on this?
Actually, as she became more and more involved in the national movement, her poetic output, decreased. And actually, the last book that she published was in 1928. This was called The Sceptred Flute. And posthumously, Padmaja Naidu brought out a book which was published in 1961 called The Feather of the Dawn. This was published in 1961. But yes, you are right that I think by 1928 or 1930, as she became more and more involved in the political field, her poetic output declined.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for such an enlightening discourse. And I'm sure we are so much enriched. We are really grateful to the Hyderabad branch and to you, sir, for accepting our invitation. It's been really a wonderful session. I'm sure we are going to have so many feedbacks now. And thank you so much for joining, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be part of AWCA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask one question, please?
There's one more. So as I said, people are not, satisfied. They want to have more. Yes, please, quickly. Yeah,
Okay.
please, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Kiran Gupta from Mumbai. And Vijay Kumar.
You are muted, Kiranji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Audible now? Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a very interesting question to ask about Sarojini ji. That which aspect of her life was more dear to her, the creative one or the political one? Because she was a rare combination of both.
Yeah, I think at different points of her life, her priorities changed. As I was just saying that as long as she was not involved directly in the national movement, her poetry was her very dear to her. But I think she found her voice probably in the political field. And that's why I think as soon as she became active in the political field, her poetry declined, her poetic output declined. So I would think that the dreamy quality probably was her essential quality, but I think she was more comfortable in the political field than in the literary field.
Yeah, we can call her a dreamy politician. Yeah, maybe.
Absolutely,
which is a misnomer. I mean, it's not, doesn't fit. Politicians are never dreamy. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us. So I would now take this program further, and I would request Supriya to introduce the patrons. I think the patrons have given, they are there, and they have got a PPT to show, they have a message to give. So please, Supriya, can you take over and introduce them?
I also have to thank Professor Vijay Kumar for being here with us. And actually, we are going to be in touch with you further ahead also.
Yes.
So thank you, Professor Vijay Kumar, from my side also. You agreed to come here and speak to AIWC.
So now you can call the patrons. Yeah.
I have a very important and interesting announcement to do, ladies. Let me share the screen. Her Highness here we see our President and Patron of AIWC Hyderabad branch, Her Highness Princess Ezra, the wife of present Nizam the Eighth, His Exalted Highness Mukram Jah. So she actually was requested to give us a message, and she has sent a special message from Istanbul today.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Did you get one? Oh wow.
Yeah. And to present it in today's session, Sarojini Naidu particularly, because she came to know that such a thing is happening, and she instantly sent it to us. And she was very impressed by the initiative taken by our President, Mrs. Sheila Kakade, of presenting past presidents. And before presenting this message, I should introduce her to you. This dynamic lady was born in Istanbul, educated in England and Italy, and studied architecture. Married in London to the Prince Mukram Jah of Hyderabad in 1959, has two children, son Prince Azmat Jah and daughter Princess Shakira, and the grandson Prince Murad Jah. She restored Chomela Palace, which you see in the right side picture, and opened it as a museum. She restored and decorated Falaknuma Palace, which is now among the world's best hotels. She says, I feel Hyderabad very much a part of my life, even though I was not born in India. I come often to stay here. So this is what actually a picture with the Prince Mukram Jah is there. At the time, just after the wedding and a little later. So this is how our Princess Ezra has always supported us. I'm sure our sisters will remember this venue when we celebrated 80th anniversary in Hyderabad. They had come to this Chomela Palace where the princess now is standing, and Princess Ezra had given them a dinner. I'm sure many must be remembering that. Now I read her message. It is an honor that I was asked to give my thoughts on All India Women's Conference. India always led historically and presently with brilliant and courageous women leaders in many fields. And I'm proud to be a part of that even for a short period during my marriage. I am sure in the future the women of India will continue to play pivotal roles in many fields. My admiration goes to all of them. So this message was received today by our another past president and patron, Rajkumari Indira Devi Dhanraj Giri. So it was passed on to me, presented here, and it is very nice to have it. I'm sure all will agree with me.
Yeah, it is a surprise even for us, Supriya. So good to they know about this program, and I'm sure you have another message from the other people.
Yeah. Now, actually, this is going to be the last item on the agenda today because we are nearing 4:30.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a presentation by our another past president and patron, Rajkumari Indira Dhanraj Giri. Let me first introduce her to you and then I'll start that. She's the eldest daughter of Raja Dhanraj Giri and Rani Vijayaraje Pramila Devi. She was born on 17th August 1930 at Gyanbagh Palace, Hyderabad, Deccan, which is why she's married to the legendary poet Guntur Sheshendra Sharma. He was the first president and chairman of Hindi Academy, Government of Andhra Pradesh, patron of many times patron and many times president of All India Women's Conference, AP branch, vice president of Telugu Writers Conference in 1968, along with late Sri D. Sanjeevayya, ex-president of AICC, served on the board of directors of the Ashoka Hotel, New Delhi, Government of India, member, Film Censor Board, Government of India, Bombay. She was also a member on advisory panel of several committees in Andhra Pradesh. Also her endowments, actually the endowments in the University of Hyderabad in Telugu, Urdu, Sanskrit, Hindi, Japanese, and the disappearing languages. And Dr. V. N. Shirodkar endowment lecture in science at CCMB, Government of AP, and at IIIT, Hyderabad. Recently, her donations are also very well known. Recently, she has given an auditorium in the Golden Threshold, which was actually Sarojini Naidu's residence earlier. That has now turned into University of Hyderabad Art and Culture Center. Then there is another one, the Academy Trust in Bangalore, Maulana Azad National Hindu University, Hyderabad, etc. She has authored many poetry books. One profitable book she has recently published, Memories of the Deccan. The autobiography she has done in Urdu. She has co-authored a book in Hindi, Chandra Badan or Miyar from Dakhin. She is not too well today, but has sent us 12-minute for us at AIWC, which we now view soon. She was here with us today.
You can present your screen, Supriya, right?
I am doing that.
All India Women's Conference का ऐतिहासिक पर्व है।
Is it audible?
Little louder.
अपने नजर से देखा हुआ समय जो आज इतिहास के रूप में लिखा पढ़ा जाता है, उसे चिर स्मरणीय बनाने में और बनाने का अवसर हमें दिया गया है। इतिहास हमें जीवन को समझने का पाठ पढ़ा सकता है, खासकर साहित्य के जरिए।
Can you make it louder, please?
She's actually have a throat problem, so please attentively kindly hear.
AIWC का आंदोलन आजादी के साथ साथ चलता रहा। जो औरतों का संघर्ष परिवार के साथ साथ अपने देश के लिए भी होता रहा। ये सुंदर आकाश इतिहास के रंगीन पृष्ठों को पलटने के लिए एक हसीन अवसर आज मिला है, जिसके लिए श्रीमती शीला काकड़ी ऑल इंडिया वुमेन्स कॉन्फ्रेंस की जो प्रेसिडेंट है, उनके यहाँ आभार है। थैंक यू शीला जी। सनलाइट रोशनी के लिए सुबह सवेरे दहलीज पर थी एक आहट। सुबह सवेरे दहलीज पर थी एक आहट। बाहर जाकर देखा कि तुम नहीं। बाहर जाकर देखा कि तुम नहीं थी। वहाँ हवाओं की सरसराहट थी। वहाँ हवाओं की सरसराहट थी। से झांक रहा है कोई सुंदर चेहरा। कनखियों से देखा तुम नहीं थी। एक अनवाई सी हवा थी। President All India Women's Conference, Srimati Sheila Kakari, all the members at the one branch, and all the friends visiting. Today we are celebrating Women Democratic India. We have made a long journey to women's rights. We are proud to conquer many evil and legislation. The opportunity to lead given. I congratulate those who visualize webinars in the importance of this, which reaches larger sections of the people. We are lucky to revisit history together. The vision of women's empowerment started long ago by Srimati Maharani Chinnabai Sahib. We are that emerging dream never forget. We have to fulfill that promise for clothes for change. This is an occasion to remind ourselves we have fought draconian stigmas and are now able to stand shoulder to shoulder. Anyone
हेलो सुप्रिया,
Yeah.
आवाज प्रॉपर नहीं आ रही, टूट टूट के आ रही।
one
Low
such
है.
woman
I can't
Huh?
repeat it.
Sarojini Naidu.
You just keep quiet.
I have few of my experiences together for you. Come, my friends, let's visit Golden Threshold.
It's a very nice PPT, Supriya, how you managed to
Yes.
get these photographs from where? From the collection?
Some of her collections. In her house, she has some beautiful big pictures of Sarojini Naidu.
Oh, some are preserved. This is from the Golden Threshold itself?
Yeah.
Oh.
In fact, in Golden Threshold, there are some pictures.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I'll present a picture gallery of Sarojini.
Yeah. Yeah.
Program.
Is actually some of them are very rare. We haven't seen these photographs anywhere.
This is her house, Golden Threshold.
Okay. And what did the patron said? What did she say, Indira Devi ji? Briefly, can you in your own words? You can listen the music. You can listen.
Yeah, she only gave a message to today's women.
इसकी वॉल्यूम कम कर दो आप ये जो आ रहा है ना इसका वॉल्यूम. You can see pictures and you can speak about the message. That was
She only said that there was a genuine message of AIWC to march forward, and she congratulated on this particular concept. She congratulated our President Sheila ji with this concept, and she says this is actually a big thing that has happened, and we need to shoot that particular program which has come in our lab in Hyderabad, where he said, I prepared a PowerPoint presentation. What she knew about Sarojini Naidu. And she, as I told you, she was married to a poet, a very legendary poet of Andhra Pradesh, Guntur Seshendra Sharma. This is her mother. And we were very close to Dr. Jayasimha as a brother. She was kindly after to him. So her message was a genuine message, and I make it available to you in a little louder voice, maybe I think at a later stage.
Oh, that was wonderful, Supriya, and you can convey our gratitude and thanks to
Rajkumari
and Princess Azra also. Wonderful that they have recognized this whole webinar and they have sent the message. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks from AIWC.
Yes. I think we were invited for dinner to a place when there was conference in Hyderabad.
Yeah, you remember, na Kuljit?
Yeah, yes, I remember. We were invited for dinner at the palace when there was a conference in Hyderabad. And really, that was a wonderful
I also remember that.
That's why I went for the dinner. So that you all will remember that you had come there for a dinner. And that dinner was from Princess Azra.
Very nicely. She personally, she came and took interest, and he was a very good host also. I remember that.
And do you still have that wagon which you showed, that railway wagon?
Is it also past president here? This is now coming to an end in another 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will see it till the end, and then we can close the program.
These are actually archival documents.
Yes.
Preserved.
Put it in your archive and hand it over to you.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should
We need
also
to keep
have
it.
these documents in our
Yes,
life.
yes.
She prepared. She was not running fever and throat problem, but even then she managed to do that much. I was surprised.
Yeah. That's so nice of her. She's very old, I believe, now, right?
She's 90 now.
Oh.
1931.
Oh my God.
Oh.
And still she managed to, speak and send a message.
Yes,
That was
and
so
send
nice.
a message. Yes.
Yeah. Here are some patrons of our presidents and patrons of our branch who have put up together.
Okay.
Have a look at it.
Of the Hyderabad branch, right?
Yeah. So these are all, there are 2 3 names which will appear as past presidents of AIWC at the center.
Yeah.
Yes, Mausama Begum is yeah.
And in the bottom left corner, we see Rani Ammabai, my grandmother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
My grandmother-in-law is Rani Ammabai in the bottom left corner. She was the president of the branch. This is actually a very old history of Hyderabad.
We can't hear anything except music. Please slow down the music, please.
No, but pictures are very good. Pictures are amazing.
Oh, this is the Hyderabad branch with the Princess. Right.
Princess Hajra, this is very old. Very old.
Executive, yeah.
Yes.
No.
Ah.
Interesting.
Very good.
Which year is this? This would be.
I need to ask her.
Okay. If you can put that also, it will be a lovely collection. Thank you so much. Thanks, Supriya.
Wonderful efforts. Wonderful efforts.
Supriya, wonderful, really.
3 cheers to Hyderabad branch. Wow.
Yes.
Great.
Hyderabad branch. All efforts.
Supriya, wonderful.
And even the flyer prepared by Supriya was wonderful.
It is
Very
all
nice. Congratulations, Supriya.
Very nice.
It was very nice.
Congratulations, Supriya.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Thank you so much. I'm happy you could hear that, and we are also 94-year-old today. So,
Supriya, tomorrow will be better.
I just have to brief you for tomorrow before I let the other proceedings go further.
Great.
The announcement for tomorrow is that we have yet another powerful speaker tomorrow. Mrs. Sheila Reddy, who is the author of Mr. and Mrs. Jinnah, the book on Mr. and Mrs. Jinnah, the marriage that shook India.
It is in our library, 2 copies.
It's in our library. It's a very successful book and has gone into many, what do you say?
So well
I think
researched.
going into other languages also. It's been translated into Pakistani, Urdu, and Hindi, and so on. And
very good.
She actually is going to talk about Sarojini Naidu, the woman who took the world by storm. This is a very lesser known side of her. We always have today. It was very nice to hear her poetry and writing skills and so on. But tomorrow you will see her deep into the politics. At the same time, she was our AIWC president in 1930. Thereafter, after this speech, actually, we will have some interesting presentations from AIWC head office. Okay, so tomorrow is another interesting day. So you have to come and attend, please.
Definitely. Now, see, after today, I'm sure all our other branches who are going to give the webinar on the presidents, they will also do a great job. And we will have, in-depth history to be known from our branches. Definitely.
Sheila ji, you find this interesting because of only one reason. Because we were fortunate to have such a huge legend, huge personality as our
Great,
and we were very fortunate.
Yes. And we should not just say great and nice and all those things, but we should learn from their life and put it in our practice.
They are inspirations for us for future.
Their activities also, how they did and how they worked all together.
Yes. Yeah.
So shall we close this program or we need to go ahead?
Definitely.
Close this program now. I need to thank Supriya. You can do the vote of thanks. Before this, I would like to just ask one question out of curiosity. So Hyderabad branch is older than AIWC, right?
Yeah, this branch is 1 year older than AIWC.
Right.
Because
1 year.
earlier
WIA is also older.
Gita,
WIA.
and then
We will be having our next seminar on webinar on Dr. Muthalakshmi Reddy.
yes, that is also
Going to be wonderful.
Next.
But
Next.
she wasn't.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So
Shall I deliver the vote of thanks?
yes, please, Supriya. Please go ahead. We have to thank you actually. Anna?
Yes.
Whom are you thanking?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Supriya. But yeah, a formal vote for Professor Vijay Kumar and others who joined is due. Please do that, Supriya.
So I thank many people today. The first and the foremost, I thank Mrs. Sheila Kafri, our national president, for this kind of series which she has conceived and then we are taking it forward. So actually, I think we have to thank her for each and every session that happened on past presidents. I also thank our National Secretary London, Sudhipurji, and National Treasurer Devanaji for their unconditional support to her. I'm very grateful to Professor Vijay Kumar Kadakamalla for agreeing to speak in this session and showing light on Sarojini Naidu's life and her historical work. I'm extremely thankful to her Zalded Highness, Princess Ezra, the past president and patron of AIWC, for readily agreeing to send that quick message shows that she still shares in her heart the love for AIWC, despite of her larger life outside AIWC. I thank you profusely, Princess Ezra, on behalf of AIWC. I can't thank enough our President of Nation, Rajkumari Indira Devi Gangadharji, for just a request and for putting in so much of effort at the age of 90 to convey her thoughts on Sarojini Naidu and also on AIWC. Extremely grateful to you, ma'am. I thank Faridaji, who is the first speaker and the present president of our branch, for her speech, lovely speech, which actually everyone referred to later, and Mrs. Geeta Chaudhary for introducing today's speaker, Professor Vijay Kumar. I'm grateful to the audience, especially the patrons at Delhi, Mrs. Deena Jain, Mrs. Meena Kohli, all the vice presidents, including Ashita of our zone A&B, South Zone A&B, zonal organizers, MICs, all the standing committee members, without whom this program wouldn't have any value. Now I thank Ms. Dr. Yusita Mishra, MIC MCM Library, who did a wonderful job of moderating this session. Thank you so much, Yusita.
Thank you, Supriya. We have to mutually thank each other. This is a good team now. And I'm looking forward to being there today at 3 p.m. sharp. Everyone again on board. And we are going to have, I think it's going to be again a wonderful session tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's so don't miss. Would request.
Impressed. Please,
yeah,
all of you.
So this continues. We are not ending. This second day tomorrow.
Every month we will have. Every month we will have.
We are actually
after a break.
10 minutes late in ending this session.
It's okay. It had to be, this was so interesting. We didn't feel like ending this. So we won't end this. I won't say bye. I would say see you again tomorrow at the same time, same place. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Very good job. Very well
Farida
done.
ji, you are very lucky. Farida ji, you are very lucky to have worked with so many wonderful people,
Yeah. Rich legacy you have. You have a very rich legacy in Hyderabad. You need to preserve and give some of it in the library, Supriya. I'm always hungry for more.
Present picture gallery of a life.
Yes.
Definitely.
It helps the readers also.
Yes.
So many researchers from abroad come to us and they would love to see this.
Yeah.